Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. It is time for Naturally Inspired Radio. I hope you have your coffee. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. So far, it's a little chilly here in northern Colorado. It sounds like we're going to get like a big old storm coming in, I guess, on the east, right? It's coming up from Texas, and then it's going to move into the east. And I guess there's going to be there's a real concern, like from what I'm seeing so far. I know it's only Tuesday. It's not supposed to land till Friday. Wednesday. We're Wednesday now. Ugh, losing track of the days. It's Wednesday. It's supposed to land on Friday. But it seems like it's going to be a big one. That's what I hear anyway. But, you know, things like that have been said before, and you never know. But anyway, it looks like it is. I'm only concerned, really, because, of course, my daughter's over there in the Massachusetts area. And so I'm keeping my eyes on it. I mean, I'm concerned for y'all, but I'm particularly concerned because my daughter's over there. And so I'm going to be watching it. I hope you'll be watching it too, because it's just good to stay on top of those things. They're saying it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one. So we shall see. But anyway, before we get started today, I just want to take this little bit of a peaceful moment here. This is my guy, Kyle. Check him out. I don't know. I can look at him for days. He's my Zen guy. He just brings me down to a Zen space. That's my Llama Kyle. And I wanted to share him with you today, bring you a little bit of peace. I just feel, well, listen, my bucket for fakeness, if we have buckets, okay, of emotions, my tolerance for fakeness bucket is full. It is spilling over. It is spilling over, and I gotta dump some out to let more in, I guess, because it's just full. Just all the fakeness, like that I see that goes on, that propels the problems that we have in our society culturally. This is a root cause. This is a root cause. This virtual world versus reality, and the fact that many people are operating like their life online is real, even though it's not, and not really reacting to things that are real. Like it's just a pattern, you guys, that I see over and over again. It's like they don't know how to respond in reality, but online, it's something totally different, much more comfortable. Like it's a whole nother life that is that they're operating online. And that seems to be more and more what people are responding to is the fake world, the virtual reality, not as much the real world. So when I feel like that, I just go sit with Kyle for a while because it brings everything back to reality. Don't you just find that? Animals, nature, dirt, I'm just grateful I have it because it brings me right back down to reality and like just a place of groundedness, I guess. That's what it is, really. It's just about being grounded. So Kyle does that for me. So I want to get into what we're going to talk about today. The WEF. Have you seen this stuff? The World Economic Forum is meeting again, everybody. The elites of the world are meeting in a elitist little town. And I hear the prostitutes have been flown in already and are busy already. I laugh because gross, right? Like, I mean, this is just, it's such an elitist little gathering. And they just feel like they have so much power over everybody. So I brought you some clips today that I just want to go over because there's a lot of good things, good clips coming out that I wanted to share with you. One being from Howard Lutnick, Trump's friend, right? Good old Howard. He always seems to bring the truth and have no problem bringing it. He did not disappoint at the WEF. Take a listen. This is Howard Lutnick at the World Economic Forum.
You should start at a much higher level.
Okay.
We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore. Find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the battery.
Oh, so many good points there. So many good points there. Listen, if you support climate change, if you support gender surgeries, if you gender confusion surgeries, right, on children, if you support mass surveillance, if you support, medical mandates, censorship, all this stuff, right, open borders, you are siding with China. You are siding with China. And Mark Carney has just announced they're surrendering, basically, in Canada, right? I mean, he made a speech here at the World Economic Forum where he tells you, the world of the past, because we are now in the new world order, according to Mark Carney. And, in the past, the old world order is over. And, we should not be nostalgic about it. We can't be. We can't mourn the world that was once. We have to move on into the future, he's saying. And that includes partnering with China. He's making it very clear that they're not going to be partnering with the United States of America, that they are going to be partnering with China. The UK seems to be partnering in the same fashion. Canada, the UK, China, all on board. They're going to get all their energy from China. So where does that leave the US? I guess with Russia. So we'll see. We'll see how this shakes out. Howard speaking very boldly there, right? Very boldly saying, hey, we're not going to outsource. Like, this has got us in a real bind. Remember when all our pharmaceuticals were coming from China and we didn't have any pharmaceuticals during COVID? I mean, what idiot thinks it's a good idea to outsource pharmaceuticals to our adversaries, right? I think it's an idiot that is planning for a kind of one world government who is taking payouts, who's being incentivized to actually do the work of the Chinese government rather than the United States of America. So that's very interesting. There was all kinds of craziness going on in the streets at the World Economic Forum. Trudeau was there. Trudeau was there with his new gal, Katy Perry. They're just trotting around the streets of the World Economic Forum. I'm surprised she didn't have her astronaut suit on, because she's such an important astronaut. I mean, doesn't anybody get tipped off by this? Is a pop star and a former prime minister of Canada. Now dating, trotting around the World Economic Forum. Like, I don't know about you, but like I said, my fake bucket is full. Okay, so all your little theatrics, look at my little, relationship with Katy Perry, who's a pop star, all of this stuff. I'm tired of it. And I think the American people are tired of it. And we don't care. I don't. Do you care about celebrity anymore? Because I don't. You know what I care about? I care that we actually get a health system that works, that we get access to real solutions for health, that our children aren't forced into taking medical interventions that might kill them. These are the things I care about. But quickly, all of those issues disappear when all eyes should be on Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau at Davos, distraction, everybody. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturalinspiredраdio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen.
You can support the show, and we'd be so grateful if you did. Take advantage of the buy one, get one free specials we have at naturallyinspiredstore.com. We have buy one, get one free minerals, antioxidants, enzymes. We have aloe. We have so many wonderful products that are still buy one, get one free. So stock up your wellness cabinet today at naturallyinspiredstore.com with those buy one, get one frees. If you have any questions at all, text me at 720-303-8868. So what was the real topic so far at the World Economic Forum? Well, you might have guessed it. It's all about artificial intelligence, and I just find it so interesting because now nobody seems to give a you-know-what about how they get power. They just need power, and I mean energy. I mean, yeah, they want power, but I'm talking about energy. I've been talking about this for a long time now, that the AI race is obviously dependent upon energy. Building data centers, building infrastructure to be able to handle the power that's needed to run the data centers, to be able to operate all this systemic artificial intelligence and the digital revolution. Right? We need power. We need power. And if we go to war, it'll be over this. It'll be over power. Now we're starting to see why Trump is navigating the scene the way he is. Here's Larry Fink at the World Economic Forum telling us precisely that. Take a listen.
The world is going to be short power. Short power. And to power these data companies, you cannot have just this intermittent power like wind and solar. You need dispatchable power because you can't turn off and on these data.
Oh, so now we don't care about climate anymore. Right? Who cares about solar? Who cares about wind? We need power to operate our data centers, and we don't really care how we get it because who cares? I think I predict. I predict that climate change is going to. I think it's going to take a back seat here for a while. And that's just too bad for people like Mark Carney, because, of course, he's been ramping everything up about climate change. Look into how they mine batteries for all of this AI. Just look, it never is what they say it's about on the surface. It never is. It never is. It's always about position of power. It's about these greater agendas, the long-term greater agenda. So on the surface, the marketing campaign is climate change because that gets you involved. Climate change. I want to save the planet for my children. What about the trees? What about this? What about that? We have to block the sun because the planet, to the point of they have pounded climate change into young people's minds to the point where they're not even wanting to have children because they think the planet is going to die in 6 years. How sad. Like, everybody should be so tired of these campaigns. Because now here we are, and the most important thing is the artificial intelligence race. Why? I think there's a number of things. I mean, they claim that if we don't develop AI first, then China will, and then we'll be ultimately ruled by China. Okay, that's a possibility for sure. But also, I think that a lot of these people involved in developing artificial intelligence are simultaneously involved in longevity. They're involved in, longevity research, life extension, and I think a lot of these guys are getting old. I think a lot of these guys are getting old, and they want to push and push and push in order to get the technology to be able to extend life. Ray Kurzweil certainly isn't getting any younger. A lot of these guys are not getting any younger, and their full vision is to solve death. And so that's really, I think, a big factor when it comes to pushing all of this energy to build out artificial intelligence and technology to the point of, full capability, because that's a lot of infrastructure. So there's going to be a lot of warring over energy. And we're going to see that continue to unfold. Now you know why Trump's been talking like this. Take a listen.
I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too, I have to tell you, and they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also. But we need that, because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, there are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger, there are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way.
Do you think there are alliances being formed? Do you think there is? I feel like there might be. I feel like right now, like I said, energy is the big race. We need more land to be able to build out infrastructure like data centers. And Greenland's a perfect space for that because the temperature's low there. There's lots of availability to water. Of course, they need water to cool data centers. So, I see that. And I don't think the 51st state was ever a joke, actually. I think we're starting to see now that the race truly is in energy, and we're going to need more space, and we're going to need more resources to build out artificial intelligence. And that seems to be the topic of the World Economic Forum as well. Check out this other clip here. Again, this is Larry Fink on the main stage of the World Economic Forum.
We believe that outside the United Nations, this is the largest gathering of global leadership of the post-COVID period of time. For many people, this meeting feels out of step with the moment. We hear all about the elites. And how does that play out in an age of populism? How does an established institution make a difference in an era of deep institutional mistrust? And there's some truth to the critique. I believe in this forum for a long time. I certainly wouldn't be leading this if I didn't believe that we can change and make the world better. But it's also obvious that the world now places far less trust in us to help shape what comes next. If the World Economic Forum is going to be useful going forward, it has to regain that trust.
Oh, I think they've received the message loud and clear. You know, if they're monitoring social media, as Jonathan Greenblatt told us yesterday, you know, the ADL is monitoring social media. They're monitoring groups. They're monitoring posts. They're monitoring tweets. They're looking at everybody, and they're scouring the internet for any kind of, you know, improprieties. And they are going after people, and they are going to define who is committing any such hate crime whatsoever. They get to determine that, because, of course, the term hate crime, well, that's quite a spectrum. And so they get to define that. And this Larry Fink, of course, the CEO of BlackRock, the megacorp, who is buying up homes and essentially eating up America one bite at a time. He feels that people don't trust. You know? I just think it's kind of funny because, you know, during COVID, there was so much chatter about World Economic Forum, and some of those sound bites that came out of the World Economic Forum from people like Noah Harari, they were incredible, right? Telling us that we don't have the right to our data. There's no such thing as privacy. We just need to make people do things. We need to implement, tough tactics to make people do what we want them to do. It was all about climate change. And how they own climate change. Do you remember that one? Remember that soundbite from the World Economic Forum? We own the science on climate change. So we just went into YouTube and made sure that everybody knows that we own the science on climate change. Like, these people are so, they're just so out of touch. They are so incredibly out of touch. And I guess that's because they live in their own little compartmentalized worlds, you know, and so their lives don't look anything like ours. And maybe they think they are doing good things. I don't know. Maybe they have convinced themselves that they are, you know, working for the greater purpose. Because like he says here, you know, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think we could make a good impact, you know, on the world. But it's things like climate change. I was talking to somebody in our community yesterday, and I didn't know this, but there's a new regulation in California and Colorado with a stricter regulation. I think it's called the NO regulation or something like that. I can't remember what it's called now, but essentially it's a $13,000 furnace now, because your furnace has to be, you know, compliant with the gases that come off of it. It's about the quality of air in your community. And so, you know, what is that? Three times the amount of a regular furnace, 13,000. Like I said, completely and totally out of touch. They don't care what kind of struggle you go through in your life. They just keep talking their elitist agenda. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
Are you overwhelmed by supplements, by vitamins? You know you need them, but you don't know which ones? Don't worry. I offer personalized service for ordering, for hashing out what you really need, what your goals are with your health. And you can contact me by booking an assessment at naturallyinspiredstore.com for concierge service for ordering for all of our members too. So you don't even have to be a new customer. You can be an existing customer, but you're like, I don't know, should I use this? Should I use that? I'd like to try that, but do I need it? That's what I'm here for. You can text me 720-303-8868 or just book an assessment with me at naturallyinspiredstore.com. So, I'm curious. We have maybe an alliance building here. I'm not really sure. Is it going to be Russia and the US versus China and the UK? I don't know. But certainly it seems like alliances are building. And, does Trump derangement syndrome still exist? I guess it does, because we're still seeing, people on the streets in Minnesota, and they seem to think that, that's all Trump's doing. Of course, these people have been, I had to get a kick. I always get a kick out of some of Trump's choices of sound bites that get released. Like he's talking about the Somalis coming over. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? These Somalis come to our country. They've never had a job. They barely have a country. And he says, not me. He says they're low IQ. Right. And then they go from making no money, never having a job, to making, $51 million a year or whatever in the case of Omar's husband, who I understand now, if it's not fake news, hopefully it's not fake news, but I understand that she's at least under investigation now, which is great. Hopefully, will we see somebody led off in handcuffs? I don't know. Gosh, I think that would do a lot for morale. If we actually, these people have been robbing us blind. And it seems like these organizations, these corrupt organizations, whether it's NGOs or political parties or lobbyists or whatever, they've all figured out a way to get their hands. I mean, I even read the other day that Soros's operations are a lot of the funding he got through his own NGOs that, came from taxpayer dollars. Like, if you haven't had enough by now, I think you don't understand what's going on. Like, imagine standing in the streets there, cheering, and cheering for and being your country being looted. Because that's what's been happening. And it isn't just over the last year or whatever. We're talking, some of these daycares have been open for a decade or more. Like, money has been being stolen from our country for a long time. And we have useful idiots out on the street for that. They're actually, please steal from me. Please steal from me. They deserve it. We're privileged. I don't know what they tell themselves. I guess they just look away from all the evidence. They just completely look away from all the evidence. I don't know. But it's really interesting, this world that we live in. I guess I'm being nice when I say that. I'm being tame. It's very interesting to me because we have all this corruption. There's so much injustice. But most of the time, people are living in the fake world, the virtual reality. So they're very distracted from what's truly going on, because, Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate were in a club in Florida this weekend, and, they were playing Kanye, and this footage gets headlines, and so-and-so and so-and-so, or, these two celebrities are dating, and that gets headlines, and it's all distraction while you're being robbed. And I guess that's what I mean when I say, like, my fake bucket is full. My fake bucket is full. Like, everybody just be out there on social media constructing their own stories that aren't really rooted in reality. And that's what keeps the lies going. That's what keeps it all going. But fortunately, I think Trump is, looking to social media and responding because he's very concerned about the primaries. It seems to me like he's really trying to push to get something done, something very tangible. Could it be an arrest? Could it be an arrest of Omar? To prove that, hey, we see it, and give people, some justice for once. Give people some justice for once. I mean, these criminals, they just get away quite literally with murder, and they never come to justice. Ever. It gets to the point where you're just like, oh yeah, I can't even look at it anymore, because it's so draining to be like, oh, we're supposed to be reactive to this issue, but yet, are we going to see anything from it? Are we really going to see anything from it? Are we just going to get more dancing and, more Hollywood marriages, and more distraction, more everybody's, mad at Dan Bongino, and we should be watching his podcast, like, what? It's just, why do we care about Dan Bongino? I mean, this guy, I don't know, didn't do a lot of talk there, a lot of talk there. I've never been a fan, actually, of Dan Bongino. He's one of those pot stirrers, I feel like, that doesn't really give any solutions. And there's a lot of people that talk and talk and talk, but they don't really provide any solutions. And guess what I'm saying today is the solution to all of this is our engagement in ourselves, like in our communities. That's where we got to spend our time, right? Developing ourselves. And the more we're distracted away because of this story or that story, the less time that we spend on development of ourselves. And again, we are the ones that shape culture. So it doesn't really matter, this is the way it should be. It doesn't matter what the government says. It's the way the people shape the culture. So I know yesterday, for the Americana segment, I talked about Christianity. And I know that upset a lot of people. I got some texts on my text line about it. People were, because I said that America is not a Christian nation. Listen, we talk about being reactionary on the show all the time in the Naturally Inspired Moment, right? We react. We need to learn how to respond, right? We have to be able to respond. My point is, there's nothing in the Constitution that declares our country a Christian nation. No, it's better than that. It's better than that. Here's why it's better. The citizenry shaped the country into a Christian nation. And the problem we face is that we've been sitting back on our laurels. We've been, I'm going to go vote and that'll take care of it. And we've disengaged from the process. We've disengaged from the process that shapes America. We've disengaged with our health. We've allowed ourselves to accept low quality food We've allowed ourselves to accept low quality health care. We have terrible problem right now with chronic health disease, right? Chronic disease is off the charts. 76% of people are walking around with a chronic illness because we have tolerated a food supply based on convenience, based on a fraudulent food pyramid that was bought by lobbyists. We have tolerated corruption throughout our institutions. And that's what's landed us here. And I say tolerated, many of us didn't even know it was going on. But that is because we were disengaged. We were disengaged. We thought we could just leave it up to the experts. Well, we've left it up to the experts, and it turns out the experts are frauds. And so now we have to take our power back. And we actually have to start taking action every day that shapes our culture. If you want your country to remain a Christian nation, you've got to be responsible for that. You've got to be responsible for that. So when they decide that they're going to start, broadcasting call for prayer, for Muslim prayer in your city or your town, you're going to have to respond to that. Now, I'm not calling for violence. I'm talking about Christianity here. I'm talking about action, right? That's not what we want here. This is freedom of religion. It doesn't give you the right to infringe your religion upon other people. So you can't just sit back and go, oh, well, because it isn't law. The law is freedom of religion. The reason why we are a Christian nation, and we were a Christian nation from early on, is because the people shaped the culture on those principles, and they lived it. Why do you think they got away with taking prayer out of school? They got away with it because it wasn't part of the law. And because the people didn't revolt enough to say, no, this is our culture. We're keeping it in the schools. We're going to do it anyway. There wasn't enough of a consensus to keep it going. So that's what I'm saying. The more we allow culture to change, the more it will change. And that's exactly why I've been talking about claiming your culture. Because if you don't claim it, somebody else will. And the door's open for them to do that. Stay tuned, everybody, for your naturally inspired moment. We'll be right back.
Did you know that nearly 70% of Americans struggle with their health every single day? That's why we are reaching out to health professionals and to anyone who simply has a heart for helping people. Right now, there's an opportunity to make a real difference in people's lives while building a flexible income stream for yourself. Whether you're already working in health, wellness, or just passionate about seeing people thrive, we want to connect with you and introduce you to our system. Together, we can provide real solutions that empower people to take control of their health and create lasting impact. If you've been looking for a way to combine purpose with income, this is it. Visit simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. That's simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. We look forward to working with you.
You can schedule your free health assessment with me. It's really me at naturallyinspiredstore.com. I say that because a lot of people text my text line and they say, tell Tammy, or they, pass this along to Tammy or whatever. No, it's just me. It's really me. So you can text me at 720-303-8868 to schedule a free assessment. I'll send you the link, or you can just go straight there to naturallyinspiredstore.com. Scroll down the website a little bit. It's very, very clear. It'll say book your assessment here. So you can do it on the website, or you can do it through texting me, 720-303-8868. Either way, do it, because there's never been a better time to get on your optimum health journey. Okay, for today, for the Naturally Inspired Moment, I think this is lining up perfectly with what we're talking about so far today. I think about this stuff all the time, because I'm like, how do we pull people back to reality? Because reality is important. I understand the inclination to want to, dive into the internet and be whatever you want to be, and, build something online, and how, the tools are all there to make AI videos, and to, you could be anything you want online. Isn't that interesting? Because even in reality, these tech people and the people who are really into transhumanism and stuff, they're trying to create that option for you. Even in reality, they're trying to create an option for you to become a transhuman. It's interesting, right? Because you can be anything you want online. It's the merger of the two worlds. This is the digital revolution. It isn't just about, better, faster computers or better computing power. It is a cultural revolution. It is a revolution where the whole world is being drawn into it. Even people's consciousness is being captured by the algorithm. It's shaping the way they think. It's shaping the way they speak. Their ability to interact in reality is being shaped. It's all a part of the digital revolution. And one of the things, so I'm always kind of analyzing this stuff, because first of all, I'm fascinated by it, right? I can't believe that I did not have this on my, in my life plan to live through the digital revolution. I just, I didn't really see it coming in the form that it's here. I figured, you watch the Jetsons and you're like, well, flying cars and maybe a robot, you have this imagery of what the future might look like. But I guess I didn't plan on it impacting humans the way it is. I guess how could I? I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? Until things start lining up, and then you're like, wait a minute, this is changing my interactions with people. This is changing everything, right? So now we're here. So I'm always dissecting it and just thinking what's coming next? Why are people so sucked into the algorithm? Why are they so sucked into the virtual reality? And one of the things that I thought about yesterday when I was thinking about it was that we confuse attention with connection. So what's happening online, right? And I noticed this very early on in my business, back in 2019. I would invite people onto the podcast to interview them. And, some people would say, yes, great, would love to talk with you. And other people would say, how many downloads do you have? And some people would say, send me your social so I could see how many people are following you. And well, that just killed it for me. Immediately then, actually, no, I don't want to interview you. Because if you're going to judge a human being by their and the quality of the conversation that we might be able to engage in to make impact and stuff, by my number of followers on social media, that was just so foreign to me those people came off as so shallow that I just quickly evaluated that they actually weren't a character. Their character wasn't they just didn't have the integrity that I would want to spend 2 hours with to interview. So never mind. I thought you were something else because of your content online, your website, your book, whatever it was that I had engaged in that I found this person interesting. It was all wiped away by them asking me how many followers I had. And so that's a phenomenon to me that this has become the currency of value of human beings, is how much attention they're getting. Because at this point, it isn't even about money. See, like, money's obviously very high on the priority list. But listen, if you have attention, then it's only a matter of time before the money follows. Because there are people who are powerful people that recognize attention can be monetized for their benefit. And so eventually they'll pay for you. And that's what's happening all over the place. Influencers, and it's tough for people like you and I think, because we see some of this content and it is just so stupid. It is so stupid. It's like, it's actually a little bit scary, because you think, I would even go like, some of it is just like debauchery, right? It's just like shock value. It doesn't have a lot of substance, and it's not really enriching lives. It's actually degrading the culture. And so I think we confuse attention with connection. And social media platforms are designed to reward attention and visibility, not relationships. So it creates this weird dynamic, though, where, especially with young people, I think, because they're a little bit more impressionable, where they're envious, or they're like, they're getting the wrong impression. Like, oh, this person has 1 million followers. They're so cool. No, that person has done whatever it takes to get attention, likes, views, comments, shares. But in reality, they actually have very little connection with any of those followers, or even with people in their real life. So don't confuse attention with connection, because that can really impact your health, your mental health, especially because image has replaced identity online. Large platforms, they incentivize image management, not authenticity. Algorithms favor polished, predictable, and emotional, provocative content. Vulnerability is often curated. Fake vulnerability. That was something new, right? This is when that people set up their camera and they're crying. It's so weird, right? So weird. Personal brand replaces personal truth. So why fake connection actually leads to loneliness. And the data says right now that we are actually the loneliest we have ever been. Imagine that, right? We have all this technology to connect, to see people, to, express, and we are the loneliest we have ever been. So keep this in mind. Parasocial relationships aren't reciprocal. So followers may feel connected to the creator, but the creator never talks to you, right? They don't emotionally return thousands of one-way bonds. They can't, right? That's why it's so important for me with Naturally Inspired to connect with you. I'm trying to actually connect with you. Most creators are unreachable on purpose because their intent is not to build connections. Their intent is to monetize. But listen, and this is good news. There is no monetization without connection. Now, they try to manipulate it so that there's some form of connection, but there's no real long-term connection that's real, based in authenticity, without engagement. So don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, these people have these followers, they must have all these friends, they must have all this great life. It's not that way. It is not that way. The creator is seen, but not engaged, not held. So number 2, the nervous system needs resonance. So real connection requires eye contact, vocal tone, a shared presence, emotional feedback loops. Social media lacks biological cues. The nervous system needs to feel safe and bonded. Without resonance, the body remains in a low-grade stress state, even while being popular. Validation replaces belonging. So in the fake world, right, online, validation replaces actually belonging to a community and exchanging ideas in a community and providing support within your community. Likes will provide you external validation and momentary worth reinforcement, where real belonging requires being known without performing. So with all your warts and bumps and your bad moods and your good moods and, your tears maybe, but, not performative tears, but the real hard times that you go through when somebody actually responds to you and connects with you one-on-one, right? Being valued without producing. So it's not like, it's not, based on if you do this, I'll do that. Because real authentic relationships aren't based in that. When worth is tied to output, people feel disposable, which fuels isolation. Comparison destroys relational safety. So image-driven environments encourage constant comparison. Who's doing better? Who's growing faster? Who's got more likes? Who's got more followers? Who's more admired? But the thing is, the whole thing is fake. And we're building infrastructure of our society off of this. How many likes do you have? How many followers do you have? I'm not going to have a conversation with you because you don't have enough. Insane. Because it's all smoke and mirrors. You can buy followers, for goodness sakes. So this creates the loneliness paradox. People with the largest followings are often the loneliest because they are surrounded by attention, but starved for connection. They are admired for an image, but not known for their reality. They feel pressure to maintain a persona instead of resting in relationship. So think about it. Stay tuned, everybody. This is Naturally Inspired Radio. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio. Save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So good that you are joining me today. I'm having a little trouble here with my screen, so give me a second here. There we go. Hopefully we don't have any, oh, there it goes again. Hopefully we don't have any glitches here. It looks like we have a little bit of something going on. Are we good? Are we good? Jason, are we good? I think so. All right. Sorry. Anyway, welcome back to hour 2. If you missed the first hour, you've got to go back and watch it. We're talking about the World Economic Forum meeting and all the craziness that's going on over there. Howard Lutnick brought the boom, if you will, representing the Trump administration. So that was pretty cool. Talking about how, listen, if you're promising to be net zero by 2030, 2030 and you don't make any batteries, well, you're essentially aligning with China where you're getting your batteries from. And so that kind of exposed the plan for Mark Carney, because he's, of course, talking about how Canada is going to be aligning with China. And so that's left me thinking, oh my gosh, so if China, Canada, and the UK are kind of all aligning, then does that mean that our ally is going to align with Russia? I don't know. I guess the future is yet to be seen. So we talked a little bit about that. We talked about the Greenland issue. That's all about energy. It's all about energy. As we've talked about here a lot, the digital revolution is about energy. We are, Larry Fink's telling us, like, we're going to have an energy crisis. What does that mean for you and I? I think it means $13,000 furnaces. I think it means, more regulation. Hopefully not, with the administration that we have, hopefully we'll be protected from some of that. So anyway, that's what we've been talking about so far. But I do want to talk about our Americana segment. Because as I've said many, many times now, there's a whole push, a whole force that would love for you to think that you don't actually have any culture in these United States of America. America does not have a culture. It's just built on immigrants and, all of that stuff. There's a whole force trying to push that. And the reason being is because they want to claim your culture for you. They want to claim, what makes up culture when you think about it, right? The things that unify a country. Like in one sentence, I define it like, this is how we do things around here. This is how we do things around here. This is our culture. And there are forces that are trying very hard right now to change that culture. And so it's more important than ever that we understand the only way, really, the only way a culture can be shaped is by its citizens. Really. I mean, and that's the way it should be. It should be shaped, right? More laws, more government involvement. That's not what we want. We want our country unified on certain foundations, not on everything, that's impossible, but on the basics, right? What language we speak, the flag we have and why we have it, our origin story as a country, the things we identify with when we think about our country, freedom, right? Hard work. One thing that came to mind for me when I was preparing for today's show is leadership. Don't you notice that, like, all through America, there's a big push for leadership all the time? It's a huge topic, right? People write books about leadership. They study historical figures and their leadership journeys. This is embedded into American culture. And so when I started doing a little research on it, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Leadership is a big part of American culture. How leadership became a cultural practice. It's not just a position here. American leadership is not defined primarily by titles or hierarchy. It emerged as a cultural behavior shaped by frontier life, by constitutional values, by entrepreneurship, and by civic responsibility. In the U.S., leadership is something you do, not something you're granted. So leadership through initiative, American culture rewards the person who steps forward without waiting for permission. Yes! I think we just got to really get back to our roots. When you study American culture, you start to realize why the country became what it is. It's like no questions asked. American leader. Founding leaders acted before systems existed. They had to. You can't just wait. But, we talked about indecisiveness this week as well. And this is an epidemic. People cannot make decisions. They'd rather have somebody else make their decisions because they're afraid of liability. right? They're afraid of their own, like being liable for their own actions. They're afraid of consequences now. They'd rather wait for somebody else to make the decision. No. We need to accept personal responsibility because we are leaders. This is what happens. If you're going to be in a leadership position, you get to create, you get to carve out culture, but you also have to take responsibility. And that means there's sometimes consequences. So you say, okay, consequence, what next? What do I do next? That's how you deal with consequences. Okay, what's next? What do we do next? Entrepreneurs solve problems without guarantees. Community leaders arise from need, not appointment. Like, okay, what we saw in North Carolina, right? When we saw floods, when we see natural disasters, who steps up? Citizens. You're going to sit around and wait for the Red Cross? They'd still be waiting. You know, a lot of these institutions, you know, that one time I called the Red Cross. I don't know if I've ever told this story on the show or not, but we had a tornado in the area many, many years ago. My kids were small. And I remember calling the Red Cross and said, hey, I'm ready. Like, I'm, what can I do to help? Nothing. You can't do anything to help. Just give us money and we'll take care of it. The money wasn't even going to my community. It was like, give to this huge organization and they'll dole it out to whoever. People want to take action. They want to take leadership because that is the American way. And for some reason, I saw this in schools too. You know, it became like, at first it was like, oh, we want all the parents here helping and you're welcome. And then as the school got more bureaucratic and more taken over by the school district, you know, the less parent involvement. Well, we don't want you taking any leadership roles here. You can't. And that's like just counterintuitive to the American way. Cultural belief. If you see a problem and act, you're a leader. Leadership as responsibility is the American way, not control. In the American tradition, leadership means taking responsibility for outcomes, not commanding obedience. Leaders are accountable to the people. Power is viewed as a temporary and conditional. Failure is tolerated if responsibility is owed. So if you own the mistake and the consequence and you say, okay, what do we do next? That's the American way. Authority flows from service, not dominance. I feel like a lot of our politicians need to read these. Leadership through individual conviction. American leaders are expected to lead from personal belief, even when it's unpopular. Freedom of conscience is foundational. Dissident is seen as a leadership trait, not rebellion. Moral courage is admired over compliance. Cultural beliefs stand for something, even if you stand alone. This is your culture. Leadership by example. The American model assumes people follow behavior, not rhetoric. Show me carries more weight than tell me. Integrity builds legitimacy. Hypocrisy dissolves authority quickly. Your life is your leadership resume. Leading by example. Leadership is upward mobility. Leadership is culturally tied to self-made progress. Anyone can rise through effort and vision. Background is less important than direction. Leadership is open to reinvention. You are not locked into where you started. I think we're seeing cultural shift when it comes to higher education. Just, 7 years ago or so, it was college, right? Without a college degree, it's all about, oh, you got to get yourself a good education. I think the top's been blown off of that. I think there are enough college graduates with PhDs even and master's degrees that are working jobs that have nothing to do with their degree. That little scam has been eroded. And I think we're going back to understanding that we can train people that real life experience matters, right? Learning while doing is very important, and you're actually better at it. You get better at it with real life experience rather than sitting in a classroom for 4 to 6 years and then coming out and getting your very first job, right? I think we're learning that lesson. And I see more and more now people coming straight out of high school and getting into their area of interest and digging in and trying to learn as they go. And I think that's going to become more socially acceptable. Leadership through risk and innovation. America's associated leadership with risk-taking. Failure is a teacher, not a disqualifier. Innovation outranks preservation. Leaders move culturally forward. They move culture forward. They don't protect comfort. Progress requires courage, and that is the American way. Leadership. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen.
All our specials are in our monthly flip book that you can find at naturallyinspiredstore.com. Monthly flip book contains all of our specials every month, and there's a little tab at the top of the website there, naturallyinspiredstore.com. It says January specials. Just click on it. It'll take you to our flip book. You can text me if you have any questions, 720-303-8868. All right, let's get to some news. Because this top story here, well, I tell you what, it got me. Well, I mean, I'll just play it and then I'll tell you what I think. Okay? It's a long one, so stick with me here. This is the Dark Horse podcast with Bret Weinstein. Just watch and we'll get into it.
You're not. Why not?
Well, I've already had COVID a couple times, so I have natural immunity.
Oh, so you believe in natural immunity?
Well, after
the entire public health apparatus assured us that natural immunity was not good enough and that you still got a benefit from the vaccines.
They got it wrong. Look, Brett, they got many things wrong.
Do you remember that moment in time?
I do.
And do you remember people like me shouting about this?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. So now we find out from Paul Offit that all of the major players gathered together and privately understood the very same thing that they were gaslighting us over. They understood that natural immunity was the best immunity that you were going to come by and that a vaccine wasn't going to augment it. And they decided to keep that to themselves in spite of the fact that these vaccines are built on a novel technology they didn't know the hazards of at best. So how is it that these people can privately meet and decide there's a whole swath, millions of people, hundreds of millions of people who'd already had COVID, who didn't need to take any risk whatsoever from a novel vaccine? How is it that they get to privately decide to keep that information to themselves?
Okay,
and why, given that they did that, given that you remember the moment in history at which they were, not only were they disagreeing with us, which was a lie, they were gaslighting us. They were telling people like you that people like me were crazy. Well, I don't understand how you don't learn that lesson. Or maybe you did, and that's why you're not getting any more COVID boosters.
No, I just think, again, it's more of a changing information landscape. We think this is what, we think masks work, masks don't work. Yeah, we should have masks.
Oh my
6
God.
feet distancing,
Michael,
close the schools,
Michael,
open the
why
schools.
do you think the
there's a lot of
information landscape changed?
Well, because the information was low to begin with, and then we got more information.
No.
I'm less conspiratorial that Paul Offit and his buddies all met.
They
and said,
did,
we know,
according to Paul Offit.
I don't remember him saying that.
He's talked about it twice on video. He's described the meeting where he and Fauci and Collins and Walensky got together and they talked about the fact that natural immunity was superior and they decided not to tell the public. That's from Paul Offit. You can go look at the video.
I don't remember that, but they're going to lie to the public. They can't. I can't believe Paul Offit would say, "Yeah, we agreed we would lie to the public." That
he represents himself as having been outvoted.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
So,
but why? What is their motivation?
Here's the important point. And look, I'm sorry to be hard on you, Michael. I really do like you. But my point is, you've switched teams. You're now on team don't get your COVID booster. Okay. And I think that's wise. I think you were in error to ever get one. But why the information landscape changed is because I went on Rogan and Malone went on Rogan and McCullough went on Rogan and Pierre Corey went on Rogan. And we talked about these things in public, bypassing the system that was set up to shut us down.
See, I don't think that's what it was, because that's very top-down, conspiratorial. We know what Bret says is true, but we're going to lie anyway. Because
no, you don't know what I say is true. And frankly, one of the things that you should hear me saying is that Bret Weinstein does not believe that podcasts are a proper substitute for functioning institutions, but he also believes the institutions aren't functioning. And you can tell because instead of giving you noisy, good advice, instead of giving you random advice, they give you upside down pyramids. They give you the inverse of the right advice. And that is an alarming fact. It tells you.
Okay. So much to unpack here. First of all, let me start off by saying, I was hopeful for Bret Weinstein and his wife during COVID because they seemed to be waking up. And, I even played many of their clips when I was doing daily podcasts. I would take little clips and see, these people are saying this and these people are saying this. But okay. I'm going to take this one little bit at a time. I asked the question, okay, so I think that Bret is having an existential crisis because when science is fraudulent, okay, because, well, that's a lot of science is fraudulent, okay? I've discovered that many years ago. I'm talking years ago, okay? Science is bought. We have a system that is dependent on product production for profit for corporations. And the government has gotten tied up in that as well. So science, a lot of it is fraudulent. I mean, we just found out about you don't really have a chemical imbalance. How many people have taken SSRIs? Right? So we know science is fraudulent, right? Oh, what about the Alzheimer's scam? Right? It's your plaque. It's plaque. It's based on plaque. We have all these products to help you with the plaque in your brain, amyloid plaque. It turns out that's not really true. But we sold a lot of amyloid plaque medicine. So from Bret's perspective, I think he's having a little crisis here. And I don't know if he'll ever come to it because I can't believe he's still arguing this like on the surface level of I was right and you were wrong. This is what we should have done and you didn't listen to me. Bret, welcome to the real world. Welcome. The reason why the landscape of information changed is not because of you and the Rogan clan solely, right? Why did the information landscape change? Because I went on Rogan. McCullough went on Rogan. Pierre Corey. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean. And certainly you played your role. But people died from the injections. Yeah, they're dead. They're actually dead. Children died in their beds. They collapsed on soccer fields. That got people thinking. Not only that, but there were a few of us, just a few, like Children's Health Defense, the High Wire, and all the families, okay, that have had experiences with the medical model, particularly vaccines. And so that, drove us as these families to go and find real solutions for health because we were onto it. I'm talking decades ago. Okay. So we already had this foundation of people like Children's Health Defense, Bobby Kennedy, people like this, that we already had it going. Okay. We already knew. And so when the COVID vaccines came up and they started saying, oh yeah, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It wasn't Rogan's. They were behind the ball. You guys were way behind the ball. Okay. There's a whole bunch of American people that know how the world really works. And we don't have, we didn't have to go and get PhDs to figure out and become scientists or epidemiologists or study bodies. We didn't have to. No. We just actually lived our lives. And with living our lives, we saw patterns in the world. We weren't actually indoctrinated into the system through higher education and, getting little pats on the back for winning this prize and that prize and, ooh, science. No, we don't operate in that world. We actually operate in the real world. We operate in the real world where you're in an emergency room and, nobody knows what's wrong with your kid, so you have to find out yourself. That's the real world. And I'm not the only one that had that experience. Oh, no. I can't tell you how many people have that experience. So the combination between, the heart problems, the blood clots, the deaths, and then this already emerging community that understood real health, that's why the landscape changed. And yeah, you guys did some podcasts on Rogan and stuff, and that helped. But there's a lot of pioneers that have been in natural health way longer than me. And certainly, I still think he's not in natural health, right? He's still science, because that's his identity. And yeah, but there's science, there's your bought and paid for science. And then there's like biology and the way your body actually works, which is, I guess, a science, but not the Rockefeller science type of stuff, So it's just a little upsetting because these guys, they're still like this. Michael Shermer wrote a book called Truth. And you're still arguing with these people. Trying to get them to, admit that they know. I mean, this thing was planned a long time ago. The only way, at the Milken Institute, I don't know how many times I've played that clip where Fauci's on the stage with the New York Times reporter and they're having a little panel. This is before COVID, of course, way before COVID, months and months before COVID. And I said, I don't know how we're going to change the way we vaccinate because right now people trust the way we make vaccines. If we were to make it a different way, something big would have to happen to make them accept a vaccine in a different way. What might be that thing? Fast forward 6 months and COVID hits. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
Listen, if you've got fatigue, if you need to lose weight, you want more energy, you need collagen, pick your protocol. All the protocols. Maybe you need hormone help. We put together so many different protocols. Easy peasy for you. All you got to do is go to naturallyinspiredstore.com. You'll see pick your protocol. Click on that and it'll bring up all the different protocols we have available for you. All of the packages have free shipping attached to them as well. So take advantage. If you have any questions at all, just text me 720-303-8868. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not, but I get worked up over this because, the ego, right? Like to think that people he still has to get a shot in there about how podcasts aren't, a replacement for the establishment. Listen, it's over. It's over. Nobody is blindly trusting the establishment anymore. And that's what we want that. We want that. We want there to be a foundation of, that everybody agrees on, a governing body that just takes care of the basics. But we do not want you micromanaging our health, our education, because you can't be trusted. And I think people like Bret, they just want to go back to trusting blindly. Well, I'm the expert. Newsflash, everybody is an expert now. We have to be. Because we can't trust you. We can't trust your model. We can't trust your little stupid awards. Everything is fake, right? Everything is bought and paid for. And you guys created this. Not you personally, Bret, but like the system has created itself. Step outside the system. You will be okay. You will be okay. You can do it. They're liars. They're cheats, and they do stuff for money. It's pay to play, and they know precisely what they're doing. And if those people are actually just the minions, they're just the minions of the people that control. And so you're going to sit here and continue to argue with the minions? The minions are getting paid. They're getting paid by the controllers of this whole apparatus. They're never going to admit, I think it was just changing information. That's why Fauci said, don't wear a mask. And then he said, wear a mask. Like, please, you're insulting our intelligence. The reason why the landscape changed is because people died. They died. They had blood clots. That's why we started calling it the clot shot, right? People were collapsing on air. Oh, but that always happened. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. There were very clear signals. Okay. And plus we had this community of natural health people and people whose kids were injured by vaccines already going. That's why the landscape changed. And then, yes, there were some loud podcasts, that were able to pierce through because they had such big followings and reach some of the normies. But yeah, that's why it changed. Sorry, but I just don't see any point in continuing to argue with the minions. Quickly, because I've got a couple more stories I want to get to. The scam of cancer is being exposed by one of my favorites, Dr. Mary Bowden. She is an independent physician down in Texas. Okay, down in Texas. She's independent. One of the only reasons she was able to really treat people with ivermectin, with HCQ, with steroids, with, breathing treatments and all the things was because she was an independent clinic on her own, not attached to the gangster corporate model of health insurance and what have you. She actually had the ability to practice medicine. So since then, she's been exposing more and more about the fraud behind this disease care model. So she tweeted out today something I wanted to share with you. Here it is. The road to riches is paved with cancer patients. Chemotherapy is the most financially lucrative treatment a hospital offers. This nonprofit hospital is marking up chemotherapy drugs 131 to 256%, profiting off the vulnerable and desperate. Yeah. And there's no return on investment there. No guarantee of return on investment, is there? $1 million, almost $2 million, wholesale price, $475. Yeah. So next time, you want to defend science, take a look at their product line. Take a look at their product line. In addition to that, I've got some bad news about your meat. I thought this was worth sharing with you because I noticed this. I feel like it happened actually during COVID. I do. I feel like it happened. I was buying things and I'm like, man, this feels light. This all of a sudden, what was plenty of food for 4 people seemed like it was barely enough for 3. I'm like, am I imagining things here? Or are these portions? I'm buying the same package, of meat. I'm buying what I think is the same amount, but yet it's not going as far as it used to. Am I going crazy? Nope. Check this out.
At Walmart again, I'm telling you, you can go up and down this meat aisle. Just pick anything out. Look through it a little bit, pick anything out. Let's go weigh this one on the scale. They're saying this ham here, what is it? Kentucky Legend ham? They're saying this ham right here, this little bitty ham, is 5.34 pounds. Let's take it to the scale. It's a good thing they put these scales in here so we can keep Walmart in check. Let's check this out. 2.25. They were trying to get somebody for $25.59 for this. How many in here are off? How many in there are off? Start digging through here, see how many in here are off. If I was unknowing, I was in a hurry, I just grabbed that ham and threw it in, it would ring up $25.
I don't think that's necessarily, compartmentalized just at Walmart because like I said, I didn't even shop at Walmart and I felt like that same thing was happening here in my household. Be like, man, this stuff just is not going as far as it used to. Count the number of ways that Americans are getting scammed. Like, I guess, all things have got to be revealed in the new world order. Mark Carney, is that what you're talking about? Is the new world order scam free? I hope so. But seriously, count the ways. I mean, how much more evidence does the American public need to have before we all collectively decide that we have to change where we are spending our money, what we are supporting, that it is absolutely necessary that we do not blindly trust the establishment any longer. I don't know, from the fraud in Minnesota, which we know is everywhere. It's also really bad in California. And likely in every state there is some level of fraud, but it's outrageous fraud at this point, right? Oh yeah, we're going to build you a bunch of charging stations here in California for your electric cars, and this is going to cost you a couple billion, but we still haven't built any. Like, it's just, and then nothing happens, and then all this fraud being revealed, and then having useful idiots out on the street defending it. Oh my goodness. Like, how much more evidence? I think it is a cognitive dissonance problem in the way that, much like Bret Weinstein, if the model of science isn't truly science, because so much of it is fraudulent, and I come from the science world and I am a scientist, then what am I? I think a lot of people do not want to pull away from the establishment because they're getting their identity from the establishment. And they find out the establishment is BS, fraudulent, corrupt, captured, run by gangsters. I don't know how many more ways I can explain it. But once you find that out, what does that mean for their identity? I think it's so disruptive, and many of these people are atheists. Like, I know Bret Weinstein is not a believer. And so their brains are searching, who am I? Who am I if I'm not this scientist? Who am I if I don't belong to this political party and I'm not a social justice warrior fighting for the betterment of the country on these issues? Who am I if this is a fraud? And that's where the problem comes up, because they've been made it their identity. I belong to this party. I believe in these things, and I do these actions, and that's who I am. Big problem with that, because if those are your defining characteristics in your identity, then they're static. You can't flex on them, because then you don't know who you are, and that is far too dangerous for their brains. Far too dangerous. They can't handle that. So they just keep attaching themselves to the narratives and keep identifying, this is who I am, this is who I am. That's the only explanation I can. Why would you argue with somebody like that? Because clearly you're just a minion. Because anybody with two brain cells to rub together knows there were major issues going on and the lie was exposed. Change in information landscape. Stay tuned. We'll be back with your health topic.
Did you know that nearly 70% of Americans struggle with their health every single day? That's why we are reaching out to health professionals and to anyone who simply has a heart for helping people. Right now, there's an opportunity to make a real difference in people's lives while building a flexible income stream for yourself. Whether you're already working in health, wellness, or just passionate about seeing people thrive, we want to connect with you and introduce you to our system. Together, we can provide real solutions that empower people to take control of their health and create lasting impact. If you've been looking for a way to combine purpose with income, this is it. Visit simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448 That's simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. We look forward to working with you.
Don't forget, you can get my favorite. This has become, next to the collagen in my product line, I think this is my favorite. Collagen and my cellular reset, and you can get it at naturallyinspiredstore.com. Yesterday I talked a little bit about the antioxidants in the Vivix, in the cellular reset that I'm always talking about. And today I want to hit another. Oh, I talked about the pomegranate. That's what it was, because that great new study came out about the arteries and what polyphenols do to clean your arteries. So I wanted to kind of add on to that, because one of the other ingredients in my cellular reset is the muscadine grape extract. And a lot of people don't, I say muscadine grape all the time, because I'll tell you, I've been taking that for a long time. And it used to come in these like generic little pills. I would buy them in because I knew the value of it. I knew it was like, if I popped a few of those muscadine grape generic little pills from the vitamin store many years ago, that would about knock out anything I felt coming on. If I had a tickle in my throat, if I had, a little bit of congestion, any little thing, I could pop those little pills down and boom. I'm talking years and years ago, before I started doing what I'm doing now. Anyway, so that's how long my relationship back goes with muscadine grape. And it is a concentrated form of bioactive compound from muscadine grape, and it's being studied, and it has been studied for a range of potential health benefits because of its antioxidants and, again, polyphenols. These are the plant compounds with biological activity. This is why all these tech bros talk about polyphenols and how important they are, because they have this biological activity that it's anti-aging, it's antioxidant. So anyway, we need more research in this area, but as many natural things, a lot of natural things, they never get the attention in research that they should, because you can't really patent it. You can't really patent it and make a big pharmaceutical product off of it and keep its effectiveness. So it never really goes anywhere. This is what I'm talking about when I say science is bought. What gets studied is chosen by this model, and this model is a pharmaceutical model. So it has to have a device, a procedure, a pill, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for products to be able to sell. Anyway, so would love more research on this. Of course, all the tech bros are doing research on it, and they're all taking these types of polyphenols on a regular basis, because they help neutralize free radicals and potentially reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, especially linked to aging and chronic disease. So heart and cardiovascular support, preclinical research suggests that muscadine grape extract helps protect against cardiac damage from high blood pressure and oxidative stress, could possibly support heart muscle function and antioxidant defenses. So antioxidants in muscadine grapes also support blood vessel health through significant human clinical evidence is, of course, limited. Potential anti-cancer effects, preclinical, allegedly, don't want to get sued here. Can't say anything, really, truly. It's so tough. But laboratory and animal studies indicate that muscadine grape extract or specific components may inhibit tumor cell growth, tumor migration, and metastases in models of breast and prostate cancer. However, results in human studies have been mixed, and no extract has been proven to cure, of course, or treat cancer. So, quality of life and inflammation. In a small phase 1 trial, muscadine grape extract was found to be very safe and well tolerated in cancer patients, and was associated with maintenance or slight improvement in some quality of life. Skin and aging support. Some studies using muscadine derived products showed improvements in skin elasticity, reduced signs of oxidative stress, which is beneficial for aging. Also, gut microbiome and metabolic effects. Preclinical work suggests muscadine components may favorably influence the gut microbiome and improve metabolic and energetic capacity in heart cells in models. So, muscadine grape extract is a promising source of antioxidants and bioactive compounds, supports heart health, antioxidant defense, anti-inflammatory activity, and potentially could maybe influence cancer cell biology, especially in laboratory settings. So more clinical evidence is needed, and it's not a substitute for anything conventional or any medical treatment. That's not what I'm saying. But there's definitely some interesting information around muscadine grape and these potent polyphenols. So what else do you need to know about it? In the cellular reset, there's a very high concentration of polyphenols, including various antioxidant compounds that help neutralize free radicals and protect cells from oxidative stress. So this helps protect cells and supports mitochondrial health, it supports cellular health on the whole, it supports energy, supports metabolism, and your body's natural defenses. So research and marketing emphasize several potential benefits, especially protection against cellular damage from oxidative stress, cellular energy production, helps reduce advanced glycation. So that's the insulin resistance that so many people are dealing with in our country, right? From a very high carbohydrate diet, creates that glycation in the body and slows cellular performance. So it supports overall cellular defense mechanisms. And so muscadine grape extract is primarily, it's a very rich polyphenol. It has antioxidant potential, right? And it supports cellular health. So very important. Polyphenols is a great area of study that I don't think we know enough about. And I think when we say polyphenols, I think people associate it with plants alone and may even tend to, veer towards like a vegetarian diet because they think, and I think that's maybe where the vegetarian diet stems from, is that plants are healthy because of polyphenols. It's this like protective agent that helps at a very cellular level. So I can understand where that came from. But what we're seeing is that high amounts of protein and animal-based protein is really what restores getting out of insulin resistance, resolves things like glycation. And it makes sense, right? I mean, we're seeing that reflected now in the food pyramid. I mean, I feel like I talk about it every single day, but remember, for every single day for decades on end, we've seen cereal commercials and soda commercials and beer commercials and, crackers and cookies, and all of these different things became the norm in our society. It's like, oh yeah, this is, a few crackers. And even, not only were they the norm, but they were promoted as health foods. Crackers and, rice cakes and cereal, granola specifically, touted as health foods, granola bars. And so it's going to take a lot of time to unwind what a lot of people think is healthy. People are afraid of dairy nowadays because that narrative that, dairy's inflammatory and nobody should be eating dairy. Well, if you have problems with dairy, then some healing needs to occur before you're able to consume dairy. But you should be able to consume dairy without incident. It's a very nutritious food. It has a lot of things. If you'll find these whole foods like eggs, they contain just the right amount of protein, just the right amount of fat, right? I mean, it's like a perfect encasement of food. An egg is just the right, the right amount of protein, the right amount of fat, the two combined. Same with meat, right? It's got just the perfect amount of protein. It contains fat. It's full of minerals. It's full of the things that you need to support your health. Like really, I mean, it seems like a simple concept, that whole foods would require or would contain rather all the nutrition that you need. But it has been years of science to convince you to eat foods that were made in laboratories from science. They steered you away from whole foods that occurred in nature. It's the same pattern over and over again. And I mean, this even comes down to our seeds. Our seeds have now been co-opted and transformed into genetically modified seeds to grow different varieties of food. So we have to do all we can to make sure we're getting the nutrition into our bodies. And polyphenols is a powerful way to combat inflammation and restore cellular function. So you can get it at naturallyinspiredstore.com. If you have any questions about it, just text me 720-303-8868. 720-303-8868. I've said that number I don't know how many times. I can't believe I could ever forget it. I think it'll be ingrained in my brain forever. But try the Cellular Reset. It's an amazing product, and you can get it naturallyinspiredstore.com. Take your control back when it comes to your nutrition. There's just pattern after pattern that shows, that nature knows best. Nature knows best. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we've been pulled away from nature. It feels like every time there's an opportunity to pull us away from what occurs naturally, it's taken. It's taken. And I think we're like entering into a time we're going to see even crazier stuff, like, pulling you away from your natural body into transhumanism. Really, if you look at agriculture in the corruption of the soil, the corruption of the seed, the corruption of the practices of growing food that, instead of working with the earth, with its natural capability, synthesizing, monocropping. It's like we're always fighting against what works in nature. It's counterintuitive. So glad you joined me today, you guys. This has been Naturally Inspired Radio. I'm Tammy Cuthbert Garcia, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio. Save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. NaturallyInspiredRadio.com.